Hey everyone, welcome to Tent Talk, the Farmers Market podcast. This podcast is all about farmers markets. Whether you're a farmers market manager or a small farmer or food maker selling at farmers markets, you have found just the right podcast.
I'm Kat Fields-White.
And I'm Bridget Myers. We're longtime farmers market managers, educators, and consultants. Get ready to catch up on all things farmers market pros with us. Today, we're chatting about finding your role in the world of farmers markets with Sina Pleggenkuhle of the Minnesota Farmers Market Association.
Today's episode of Tent Talk, the Farmers Market podcast, is supported by American Farmland Trust, protecting farm and ranch land and helping foster a new generation of farmers. Your membership keeps farmers farming, and that's certainly important to the future of farmers markets. Even more, it's the only path to healthy food and a better climate for all of us. Join today by clicking the American Farmland Trust logo on the resource page at farmersmarketpros.com.
Well, welcome back to Tent Talk, everybody. Today we are chatting again with Sina Pleggenkuhle, currently Director of Engagement and Inclusion for the Minnesota Farmers Market Association. We've talked with Sina on the podcast before, and if you tuned in to Intense, the Farmers Market Conference, as a virtual attendee way back in March of this year, you may remember her as your facilitator and cheerleader. Welcome back, Sina.
Oh, hello, everybody.
She did keep the virtual attendees all fired up earlier this year. It was great.
It was great.
Yeah.
Such a good facilitator. I mean, for real, I think that's a hard job because you're kind of managing a lot of people that were with us virtually and also in the room, being present with everybody who was presenting, and you just
representing
that so
the
well.
Virtual team to the speakers. It was
Yeah.
awesome. You're going to come back and do that again? Let's see if we can get her to commit on while it's being recorded. Everybody listen in. Are you coming back to do it again, Sina?
I would love to, and I'm going to try to recruit as many people to attend virtually instead of in person because I loved it so much.
We have plenty of virtual attendees.
What you wanted to hear.
We want to see more people in the room, but plenty of virtual. How about we just encourage more people to attend? Let's just double both sides.
Attend
Yeah,
however
okay, we'll do
you
both
can.
sides.
There
All
we
right,
go.
cool.
Both. You'll get some cool folks virtually, as always, though. We know it. We're excited.
Yes.
Well, we're so excited to talk to you today. But for folks that maybe weren't with us at the conference or didn't hear you on the podcast before, maybe just give us a little background information, kind of catch us up briefly, since we've done this before, on how you first got into farmers markets and what you did just before that.
Yeah. So when I started at the farmers market, it's a pandemic story. So prior to the pandemic, I was working for a publication. And we focused on events that were food related. And so I was working in the food and wine industry. I had a big event that I helped produce at our baseball stadium that would have about 6,500 attendees, 500 vendors there. And it would be a lot of my clients were wineries in California. And then the Minneapolis Farmers Market was actually a huge sponsor of the event. And when the pandemic happened, when everything closed down in Minnesota, it was a week after our event.
Yes.
Wow.
Right under the wire.
Yeah. Oh,
So
man.
if you know what tasting events are like, wine tasting events, we're really close to each other. We're basically spitting in each other's faces and drinking and eating. And so to go from that to complete isolation was very dramatic. And my role at the publication completely changed because I was in the events world. And so every call that I would make to a client was a really sad story, like, oh, because it's the food industry, like, oh, we got laid off, or, oh, no, we can't even think about advertising right now. We don't know what's going to happen. And I was just super excited to call the Minneapolis Farmers Market because they were my buddies. And so it was more, instead of a sad call, just like, hey, how's it going? How are you guys doing? And how are you doing, Sina? And I got the offer to say, hey, we need help with communications, with getting 15,000 people to get through the market, to communicate with our vendors in the health department. One of my managers just quit. Like, Sina, would you be willing to come work with us? And I was like, you know what? It's basically a 50% pay cut, but I don't know what's going to happen either in my world. So let's just do it. And that's how I landed in the farmers market industry.
Well, that I feel like is, the COVID transition to farmers market management is like tale as old as time now. We have so many market managers that came in because of that, made that transition either out or into the industry in one way or another. But I feel like your event background was just probably
it's perfect.
Exactly
Yeah,
what
perfect
they need.
background for a farmer's market manager.
Yeah.
Well, and then you came in as their communications director, and then you moved into a different role with them, right?
Actually, I came in at the Minneapolis Farmers Market. The title was assistant market manager.
Got it.
But what Mao at the time, who was the general manager, she said, Sina, whatever's in your job description, you're not going to do, because it was all focused on COVID and COVID protocols and that sort of thing. And so not until, because I did 3 years with the Minneapolis Farmers Market, not until about halfway through was I able to really focus on what the job entailed. And then the title got transitioned to Director of Programs and Partnerships. And then my main focus was food access programs, food rescue, marketing and advertising for the market, communications, that sort of thing.
And then you changed jobs again there, right? When Mao left?
Yeah. So after Mao left, that's when the roles switched to the programs and partnerships. And
Got it.
we got to lay off of the COVID restrictions, thank goodness, and start to get back to, what we all know as what know and love as farmers markets.
That's right. Our
Really
job
hard
is still
stuff.
weird, just
Yeah.
weird in a different way.
Yeah, exactly.
Hard stuff to different hard stuff, but a little bit happier hard stuff. So how did you wind up at the Minnesota Farmers Market Association?
So that is a very interesting story. Very similar to how I wound up helping you all with the conference. That last big busy season that I focused on at the Minneapolis Farmers Market, what really kind of got me to burnout mode was growing and expanding our food access program. So in 2020, when I started, it was about a $50,000 token exchange and market buck matching program. When I left, we ended the season at $250,000 in token and market buck exchanges. And
Wow.
I struggled all season long. I struggled with, with the capacity of all the tokens and reimbursements and working with our farmers with, staffing issues. And so just getting through the past 3 years, I really hit a wall and decided to take a break in December. And so I finished everything I needed to finish for the season, let the board, gave them the final report, and just let them know that I'm going to be done with the market and I just needed to take a mental break. And so I emailed everybody and let them know that here's my personal email. This is what I plan to do for the next month or so. I got a message from Kat saying if I wanted to come help out at the conference. And I got a message from Kathy Zeman with Minnesota Farmers Market Association.
Same kind of messages. Hey, Sina, while you're taking a break, want to come work for us?
I see you're taking a mental break. Does that mean that you want to work in a different job that you haven't worked before? Come on.
This industry is ruthless, I tell you.
It's a grind. The grind never
Opportunistic.
stops. Yes.
But yeah, I was really excited to get on board with MFMA. One of the big reasons why was we worked hand in hand with MFMA for National Farmers Market Week. So beyond just the food access program at the market, I wanted to make National Farmers Market Week a really big deal. And we really did. So I really understood on a deeper level what type of resource and organization MFMA was. And so when Kathy was like, hey, we have an employee that's leaving, going on to the University of Minnesota extension program. You did so well during National Farmers Market Week. Do you want to hop on board? And I just thought it would be a really good change of pace, but also it wasn't full time. So, at heart, I'm an entrepreneur. So what I saw it as is I could still keep, my foot in with all this work that I've been doing in the local food scene, but also kind of work on other endeavors that I have for myself. So I saw that as a healthy balance for my future, opposed to being at one market 7 days a week, that being my world. So
Right. Lets you stay creative. So is it still not full time at Minnesota Farmers Market Association?
Yeah, that's correct. It's still not full time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that explains why you're out there buzzing around doing all the other interesting things that we see you do. But to wrap up on that job, what's your day-to-day job look like in the piece of it that's the Director of Engagement and Inclusion, which is a beautiful title. What's that look like on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, thank you, Kat. So, MFMA focuses on three pillars, really. So it's education, marketing, and policy work. So my day, depending on the time of year. So right now, since National Farmers Market Week is over, which was in August, we're done with the recap. We're done with settling those partnerships. We're transitioning now into the education part. So we have our annual conference that we're working on. There's other partnerships that we work with, like Minnesota Department of Agriculture, other organizations that help the local food system here in Minnesota. We have the Emerging Farmers Conference that's super huge. About 300 people attend that. That's happening in November that MFMA is a partner on, and I'm part of the content committee with planning that. And then we have during the down season, we have all these trainings and like cottage food producers. And so part of my title with engagement and inclusion, I'm really just trying to have MFMA and our other organizations focus their work on other communities that might have not been thought of before. So with emerging farmers, it's Indigenous, New American, BIPOC, or women farmers. And so that's kind of where my niche is in the organization.
Nice. Nice. It sounds like such a good kind of well-rounded job, and the fact that it's not totally full-time, so it allows you to do sort of like expand on that and do some other kind of jobs sounds like a really good fit for you, since you're such a like go-getter, and I feel like have that spirit where it's like, how can I take this and do this with it? Like take what I'm doing right now and expand. And so you kind of seem to operate as like the de facto face of the association on TV in Minneapolis. And you're such a natural, as we all know. Anyone who was at the conference knows, like, you're very personable and just speak very clearly with your messaging. So it's been really like awesome just on our end to watch you do that on that side. Do you think you'll keep expanding your career as a media personality and farm and food influencer? Or where is that going? And what is that? What kind of, I mean, for people who don't know and don't see you, like what kind of stuff are you doing on that end of it?
Yeah, okay. What you just said is not really like it's not that.
Oh, I've seen you.
I think it is. I think it is. And honestly, as farmers market folks who kind of struggle to do content at markets and around food access and things like that, it seems like it would be easy because like markets are so beautiful and there's a lot of that's just like content falls in our lap. But you do a really good job of taking that content and making it accessible to folks that don't understand the industry, which I feel like is just where I kind of hit a hurdle sometimes. And so, honestly, that's an honest compliment. I feel like it's very engaging. You're always having fun, and then you're also educating. So,
yeah. Okay, honestly, I started the social media with having my own brand in this local food scene. It really started just because I felt that I was doing a lot of work so quickly and just doing the most bizarre things that I wanted to document it. And just for myself to reflect on the growth in my career and the impact that I was making for the community. So it started off for myself. And then as I started doing more communication work for the farmers market and for MFMA, I really used my own platform as a testing ground. So before I would, create content like reels and storytelling content I would test kind of concepts out on my own personal page. And so if it doesn't get a ton of likes or a ton of engagement, I probably wouldn't utilize those same techniques on the other organizations that I'm working on with storytelling and that sort of thing. But now, it's been a really great way to network. So a lot of the TV segments that I've been able to get on our local news stations, I literally just message a lot of them through their own personal Instagram pages. I DM them and I'm like, hey, I'm with MFMA. Look at my page. Can we do a show on pumpkins because it's the fall? And they're like, absolutely, let's go. So it's been my way to get an in that isn't as traditional as putting out a press release and doing getting stuck in people's emails. I've just been really using my personality and our mission and contacting people through social media. And it's worked really well. I think by the end of October, I'll have 11 news segments that I was featured in this year.
Oh, good job.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then are you working with other firms? Since you're part-time at Minnesota Farmers Market Association, are you connecting with other food people to do kind of social media work and promotion work?
Yeah, so I, along with MFMA, I do sit on a board as a treasurer for this awesome organization called Roots for the Home Team. And so basically we work with youth and they have a salad cart at our baseball stadium, the Twins Stadium, and we teach them entrepreneurship, healthy eating, and the executive director, Chef Jametta Raspberry, used to actually do food demonstrations for me at the market. And so now, I'm just indulged in this local food industry, and we just kind of all work together and partner on side projects other than the organizations that we're working with. And so for me, now that I see this opportunity and now I'm in this world, I want to branch out on my own brand. So what I'm finding is a lot of times with these news segments, they're like, "Hey, can you do a demo with the food?" And so I'm not a cook. I'm not a chef. I like to cook. And so with also offering a little bit of who I am, I've offered, I don't have a restaurant to promote. Let me promote healthy food through farmers markets, through Cambodian food. And so now I'm working on a cookbook.
Oh, good.
Wow. Wow.
So it's using all local ingredients at farmers markets. It's a little bit of my culture. So it's kind of hand in hand working together. I want to do a children's book that specializes in farmers markets. So there's all these little side projects that kind of have stemmed out through different work that I've done with MFMA and through different opportunities that just kind of come about. I'm an entrepreneur. If there's something that comes up,
you just see the possibilities.
Can't help it.
I love how that happens.
I see the possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And because our job is weird, and when we say our job is weird, what we're really talking about is how many different roles a farmers market manager fills. A lot of times you're a social media person, and you're an accountant, and you're a risk management. You're an HR person. So we do so many different things that really experience as a farmers market manager qualifies you for all kinds of things. So we're seeing now, as people move in and out of the farmers markets, both as managers and as participants, like Farmer Carrie from Looney Farms. She did an amazing job of telling Looney Farms' story all the time that they were in markets and things. Well, she's recently stopped farming, moved into kind of a property with a really big garden, but she's not farming and selling at markets anymore. But she's just taken a job as a public affairs specialist for USDA. So that would have been somebody that, she developed those connections when she was farming and dealing with value-added grants and that kind of thing. Point Loma Farms, our friend Steve.
Yep.
Yeah, he's an organic practices inspector now for CCOF, which is the California-based organic inspection group. Brian Copham, who was the executive director at the Boulder Farmers Market. He's an agricultural loans specialist now for the state of Colorado Department of Agriculture. And then there's people like Sarah Delavan that had a food business at farmers markets, and now she's got a really vibrant consulting firm, the Good Food CFO. She helps people figure out how to navigate when they're switching from markets to wholesale, or when they're trying to figure out cash flow issues and how they make things work in a food business on a really on-the-street kind of level. Does amazing work. Her podcast is incredible. Highly recommended. And Ben Feldman, who was a farmers market vendor selling chocolate, and then a market manager in Northern California, ended up as now policy director, formerly executive director of Farmers Market Coalition. And now he's also the founder of Indirect Cost Services, which is a very niche consulting group that supports organizations with grant budgeting and policy work and advocacy work. So it's just really interesting what kind of things you end up qualified for and what kind of groups you end up networked into when you're working in this kind of community.
For sure. Yeah. I think that thinking about what skills are needed for this job when you have someone coming in to do it, like what Sina was saying when she came into the job, thinking about what's needed, and then what kind of skills are you developing while you're in the job of managing farmers markets, and where, what's the next step, or where can you take those tools to kind of stay in the industry. But the industry is so wide and vast because we're dealing with so many different things, which is what makes, the development of skills while we're in the position so great. I think it can just take you kind of anywhere, as is illustrated with Sina and as is illustrated with all these folks that you just discussed too.
Yeah. What kind of connections, Sina, have you made that would lead to maybe your next thing? Do you see connections that you can make within the farmers market industry that you wouldn't make as just a general kind of food systems expert?
Yeah, I mean, I think what people are really noticing with me is my storytelling capabilities. For example, what I'm finding right now is, MFMA has a role for me, but through these different partnerships that we have, they're noticing that they need help with communications as well. And so right now, I mean, I'll be going up north, 2 hours north, to do a film project just to tell the farmers market food hub stories. It's still under MFMA, but it's the skills that I have that has led me to this point. I don't think they would have gone to MFMA if they didn't see the work that I've done in the past for Minneapolis Farmers Market with National Farmers Market Week, telling that film story. So I think if you as an individual just kind of really, really shine a light on what you're good at, I think the other organizations within our industry will notice. And if you say, hey, I have this skill set and I'm willing to do extra, I think you're the first contact opposed to someone else that might work for an ad agency or a media company, because it's different when you're in our world. Only all of us know how weird our job truly is. And so that you get better product because of that, right? Because you have those connections and you have the experience. And so I would just recommend everybody just to really focus on, what you're good at. If you're a market manager and networking or working with your farmers is your thing, there's organizations like we have, like Minnesota Farmers Union and other types of organizations that really focus on farmers that might need your tool set. So like Minnesota Farmers Market Association is a sponsor for the Farm Family Breakfast that happens for our policymakers at the beginning of the year. And they're looking for someone to manage that event. They could hire somebody on a regular events team, or they could hire a market manager that would be just as qualified for a job like that. So those are some of the examples I would recommend for people to take a look in if they want to take the next step out of being a market manager.
Yeah, or even do something parallel when you're in a market management role. If your market is not your full-time job, if your market's like a little smaller, or you have a bigger team and you don't spend as much time during the week like managing that market, you could take on some of these kind of adjacent roles and still and just stay really, intertwined and stay in that kind of networking circle, which is just really big based on where your skill set is. I mean, at storytelling, I feel like that's such an important thing that market managers should be doing. And then to know that you have like a real deep talent in that and taking that to other levels where people might not think that a job would exist for that, but clearly that's such an important job, and not only with marketing, but also just connecting people together. So yeah, it just sounds like you've woven quite a connected web of skills and bringing all those things together. So,
and that's probably a good reminder for those of us that are in positions where we're hiring people to add to our farmers market team, maybe to think a little bit outside the box about what kind of skills you need to have. So we can look at a pretty varied, interesting, sort of nonconformist kind of resume and find a place to fit people into our teams where they can really thrive.
For sure.
So what's next for Sina? What do you got up your sleeve? What's coming?
Well, I'm excited about this cookbook. I will say
me too.
I've had cookbook dreams for years.
True.
I feel like since I moved here to work at the markets, we went to the Portland Farmers Market, and they have a beautiful farmers market cookbook, and I was very inspired and just thought, okay, I'll just do a cookbook. And it's a lot of work, as you know, to bring a cookbook together, but what a wonderful gift to the market or markets, wherever you're getting, and just like connecting the farmers to people. It's just such an awesome thing. So I'm very excited that you're doing that.
So is your cookbook, Sina, focused strictly on Cambodian food and recipes?
Yeah. So my goal is by next summer, May through October, I'll have one recipe per month completed. And so I'll partner with 6 other Cambodian women. And the idea is we're going to go to the farmers market, find what we can find, and then because with Minnesota, it's such a short growing season. So we don't get everything all the time. And so, in the springtime, what I really love is Cambodian spring rolls. And so I would partner with another Cambodian woman. It could be like my mom or a Cambodian chef in town. And we would go to the market, create a recipe together. I would be the voice of the local food. And then the other Cambodian woman would be the voice of, our culture and who we are. And then we would have 6 recipes by the time we're done. We'd have a YouTube series by the time we're done. And then when I go on these new segments or when I can kind of connect the dots there with local food, my culture. And so I have a whole line of other projects I would like to do that kind of stems off of that. Even a farmer's market fashion line.
Oh,
yes, please.
We like it.
Yes, please.
So stay tuned. A lot of fun things. Yeah.
Farmers market fashion. That's a special love of ours.
Yeah.
Will you be? Should we plan on a farmers market runway? Walk the runway at the next conference? What do you think?
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes. Judging by the past couple of years and some of the outfits that came through, absolutely.
I love that. See, there's just like endless possibilities.
There
It
are.
sounds so great. Yes. And you have to come to our market and do a book signing when your book is all done. Even though we're in a different growing area, I feel like this is just so, just connects everybody to their food. Anything you can do to make those connections, I feel like is such a great thing.
That's another good idea. I'm going to wrap Sina up with this. We should do a farmers market book tour.
Oh, I love it.
Farmers market related books. Just put like 4 authors on a bus. This could be a good time, Sina. We'll take it from one coast to the other.
Here we go.
I am down, Kat. I'm down.
I love how both of you, who both have a million things going on, are now coming up with a new idea. You know what? Just pile it on.
Of course.
If you want something done, you ask a busy woman, right?
That's true.
They get it done.
Now, my team tends to, every time I say, "Oh, I have an idea," they say, "No, no more ideas." How are your family and friends about that kind of thing? When you say, "I have an idea," do they cower? Do they shake? Or do they cheer you on?
Does Kyle run away?
Well, Kathy and I are a dangerous duo.
Oh,
basically, because we are the same people, and we just keep putting more work on our plates. But you know what? We only live once, and it's a need. Right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Absolutely.
It's a need, and the work
Yep.
you're doing is important. It's not, not frivolous work. So
I think so
that's
too.
Good.
Anything else we should have asked you that we missed?
Not necessarily. I mean, personally, I have a lot of exciting things that I want to do that's more for fun. But with MFMA, I'm really hoping that I can utilize my skills in marketing and communications and expanding that through different programs and training opportunities this fall too, in this winter. So there's going to be a lot of serious work happening, and there's going to be a lot of fun. And so that's what I'm telling myself is my balance, so I don't get burned out and learn from my mistakes from the past couple of years.
For sure. But I think keeping that variety in what you're doing, I think is a really good way to avoid burnout. You can kind of shift. If one thing is just getting too intense or too rote, you can shift to something else and keep it lively.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Sure.
Well,
it's been wonderful having you back.
Really nice to see you.
And we'll be in touch about the conference.
Yes, please do.
For sure.
It's already saved on my calendar, so
excellent.
I'm excited.
Glad to hear it. Perfect.
See you soon. Bye.
All right. Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks for listening today, and big thanks to American Farmland Trust for protecting small farmers and farmers markets and for supporting Tent Talk, the Farmers Market podcast. Click their logo on the resource page at farmersmarketpros.com and join today. As usual, American Farmland Trust representatives will be back in the Resource Lounge at Intense 2024, the only national farmers market conference, to discuss your needs and priorities. Meet them, say hello to Sina, and all of us in San Diego, March 4th through 6th, 2024. Just click register on the homepage at farmersmarketpros.com to reserve your space.
Thanks for listening to Tent Talk today. Please leave us a review on your podcast app or wherever you listen to Tent Talk. Let us and others know how you're enjoying the podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode of Tent Talk. Connect with fellow farmers market folks in our private Facebook group, the Farmers Market Pros community. Follow us on Instagram at Farmers Market Pros. and find online education and other resources on our website at farmersmarketpros.com. Tent Talk is brought to you by Farmers Market Pros, where passion meets profit. Tent Talk is produced by Leandra Hayes with original music by David Mead. Tune in next week for another great episode.